Well, folks, look, that was not the game of 2003 when the Arizona Wildcats trailed in the first half and then outscored them by 30 in the second half. This did not look anything like that. And we're going to talk about why it didn't look anything like that in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere. It's the AZ Wildcats postgame show.
Is it going to be this sad every time, Kevin? Arizona loses to Kansas 83-76 as the second half, kind of whirlwind comeback falls short. The Cats just can't stop Hunter Dickinson in the first half and down the stretch. Arizona drops its fifth game, I should say, in the last 8. And we're here to talk about it. I am Damon Fairall. He's Kevin Thomas. This is the AZ Wildcats postgame show. Welcome in, guys, and sad boy hours here, Kevin.
Definitely some sad boy hours here, Damon. And this is another game this year. Arizona's played one of the hardest schedules in the nation, right, this year. Very tough strength of schedule. But this is another game where you're looking at it, and we come away from it thinking, wow, Arizona could have and maybe should have won that game if not for some self-inflicted wounds. And, those are the worst games, to be honest with you, Damon, when you're going through it. And you want to give full credit to the other team. We're going to do that throughout the course of this podcast. But you also want to acknowledge that there are some games where your team, the team that we love and support, the Arizona Wildcats, play below the level, the standard that we and they expect of themselves, and they get beaten. But this was a hell of a game from a Kansas team that has struggled at times this year, and we talked about it on our preview. Kind of needed this game a lot more than Arizona needed this game, and their seniors certainly played like it on senior night, Damon. Their streak of not winning a senior night in 41 years moves to 42.
Losing.
Sorry. I must have misspoke there. Yeah, not losing a senior night in over 40 years continues sadly behind 33 points from Hunter Dickinson, 12 from KJ Adams, and 20 from Zeke Mayo. And it was a loud 12 from KJ Adams. Lots of dunks, lots of after each dunk. And and then from the Wildcats
lots of
side,
me just screaming at the TV, throwing my fist. God, I hate this guy.
Yeah, man. And from the Wildcats side, there were some flashes of some really positive things, but really for not long enough stretches, right? And I guess we can start talking about that now. But what were some of your takeaways from this game, Damon, your instant reactions? Because that was mine. It was another game that Arizona, credit to their opponent, played a hell of a game, but also Arizona, it was on the table to have, and they just didn't reach and get it,
Yeah, I think this was a high-level basketball game. You saw two really good teams, and Arizona obviously let that first half get a little bit too far away from them. They closed it up right at the end, and I think made it more of an attainable number there, making it a 9-point deficit at halftime, and that was a big bucket by Jaden Bradley, who we'll get into, Kevin, because Jaden Bradley is back. But I think just getting back to this game, it really felt like Kansas was just not going to be denied in some circumstances, and unfortunately, it's felt like that, I think, a lot in these Arizona versus big-time opponent games recently. I don't know if you feel the same way, but in the Houston game, in the Iowa State game to a lesser degree because it was just kind of a blowout, but like in the BYU game, BYU, Houston, Kansas in particular, those 3 losses, Kevin, felt like Arizona easily could have won all 3 of those games, maybe even should have won, I won't say this one, but at least the other 2. And meanwhile, we're talking about 3 losses here because the Arizona Wildcats just can't find a way to win these basketball games, especially late in the game. And I guess, what would you kind of point that to? Because I think that it is a problem, and there is something to just being a team that can, claw out wins. I think Houston is a perfect example of that, right? Like, that is a team that never dies. We saw it in the Kansas-Houston game that we watched probably about, a month ago now, Kevin?
Yeah.
Where
the Tech-Houston game, even more recent than that.
Yeah, it's like Houston is just a team that they have figured out the formula to winning. And right now it feels like this Arizona team has everything, has all the tools, but they just can't figure out and get over that hump of this is how you win these close basketball games. And yeah, I mean, that could be, your Achilles heel when it comes to playing in, the tournament in March Madness.
I think it comes down to two things, and one thing kind of goes hand in hand with the other. They kind of wash the, left hand washing the right hand, so to speak, right? Corey Williams said it on McHale Madness, and I think it was very, very well put. Part of Arizona's lack of consistency is they don't have a clear second option on offense. And that makes it hard for the guys in that locker room to feel like they have confidence and they know what their game plan is going to look like out on the court, because every night it looks different. Right, Caleb Love is going to be the number one option offensively, a game in, game out. But one night it might be Jaden Bradley that's number two. One night it might be, I don't know, Henry Vasar going off, or you know what I'm saying? It's just you don't know what it's going to look like night in, night out. I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it is because you don't know who your number two option is, you also don't have a reliable end of game offense that doesn't revolve around, can Caleb Love create an open 3-point shot all on his own, right? I think we saw tonight. I guess this afternoon, and we also saw it last year in the tournament. When that Caleb Love option breaks down, it becomes the Jaden Bradley show. It becomes, hey, can Jaden Bradley single-handedly carry this team offensively against a team that is incredibly talented, like a Kansas? You know what I mean? Or like some of the teams.
Not to cut you off, but that's like the one guy I do feel like the question that I prefaced the statement with was like, I feel like that is a dude who knows how to win. Like I feel like I saw that in the Sweet 16 against Clemson last year, right? When everything else was breaking down, Jaden Bradley was like, "I'll step up. This is my time," right? So, and I thought we saw that again today. Like, I don't have questions about Jaden Bradley. I think there are questions to Caleb Love's inconsistency, and that might lead to him potentially not having a good game. But I think he's not going to shy away from the moment. It's the entire rest of the team that there are question marks about. I feel like those guys, I feel like they know their role, right? It's the front court players. It's the small forward rotation where it's like, Del Orso could play 5 minutes or 25 minutes. It really felt like he played 5 tonight. Trey Townsend, a little bit of a coming out party. We'll get into that in a little bit. Clock struck March, and
number one Trey Townsend podcast in America, baby. It's our time to shine.
Mr.
Damon.
March is here. Mr. March is right here.
Yes, Mr. March.
I digress. I think like the Carter Bryant, Henry Vasar, Tobe Awaka side of things is like, yeah, it really is kind of up in the air how much those guys are going to play on any given night. Is that really truly hurting the team? I think it's impossible to say. It's one of those intangible things. But tonight, I certainly, and we'll get into this too, Kevin, but I certainly thought the front court rotation cost you this game. Just their inability to get big stops when it came to, defending Hunter Dickinson in particular, somewhat KJ Adams. And then when you do force those stops, giving up timely offensive rebounds. And when I say timely, I mean in Kansas's favor, because, there was a couple of times where you got Hunter Dickinson to miss. And then all of a sudden, KJ Adams has an offensive rebound and puts up one of two of those 12 of the loudest points that the sport of basketball has ever heard.
Yeah, Damon, and I feel like, just to answer back to what you were saying about Jaden Bradley, I feel like I'm not saying that he doesn't know how to win, or that he can't take over and be that number two. But night in, night out, Jaden Bradley is not the number two scoring option on this basketball team, right? And that's just, I think that was more so what I'm saying, right? If you're one of Caleb Love's teammates and his shot ain't falling, you obviously believe that he can make one. But if you're thinking, all right, Caleb's don't got it, who else got it? Is it me? Is it KJ? Is it Henry? Is it Tobe? Is it Trey? Because
the way you said that,
because
I didn't like that. Not after what my guy did.
No, because that wasn't excited. Like, because now we know it can be Trey Townsend. It can be Trey Townsend. We know that's an option now, right? I mean, people were frying my guy Corey Williams because he said that Trey Townsend was Arizona's second best scoring talent, like skill wise. Which,
hand up.
Yeah, we both were like, hey, this is an insane take. And then here,
I mean, I still don't agree with it, but
I don't either. But Trey Townsend, if he keeps playing like this, we're gonna have to forfeit some ground on the warpath, Damon. We're gonna have to do it.
That's Mr. March to you from now on. By the way, he didn't give you the right to call him by his first name, by his government name.
All right, fair. Mr. March had a really nice game. Yeah. But no, my point is, Damon, I think when you don't have a number two option, it makes it difficult to have like trust in the system in a way, I think. And the way Arizona plays offensively doesn't really lend itself to a late game. We need to come back. Like it doesn't lend itself that way. It's a fast break, or very slow cook offense, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's flying in the fast break, they're probably very successful. If you're able to slow down Arizona, you can probably pull away in a lot of
Looks nasty at
4 or
times.
5 minute stretches, Damon. But
you force them to make jump shots a lot of the time when you do that.
yes.
And this we've come to know that this is just not a good jump shooting team. I did feel like I saw a good amount of mid-range though tonight, and I felt that they were fairly successful on the mid-range, Kevin. So maybe that is something that they're adding into the game plan a little bit more. I don't know if you agree with that, but I felt that KJ Lewis and Jaden Bradley in particular were taking some mid-range jumpers, especially after KJ Lewis took three pointers in the span of 4 or 5 possessions there, which was pretty brutal. Yeah, no,
it was 4.
That was straight off the dome. I had no idea if it was 4 or 5.
It was 4 because he took one like a couple minutes before that, and it was. I mean, do we? Man,
we love our guy. We love our guy.
I've said he's my favorite player on this team to watch this year at times.
I think he might be my favorite player on the team, or at least going into the season he was. But I think Henry Vasar maybe has taken that crown over the course of the year. But I just KJ Lewis is an incredible defender. He's has some aspects to his offensive game that are very, very good. His ability to like slash to the basket, especially in transition,
especially when he's 100%, especially when he's 100% too.
And I saw a little bit better dribbling, I felt tonight, than I've seen in past performances. But brother, we need to stop with the 3-pointers. You're shooting about, what is he like? So he
came into the game shooting 18%, Damon. The big 1-8.
He was shooting 18%. He went 0 for 4. So I would assume he's probably in that 16-17% range now. I think we're good, Kevin. I was almost gonna tweet it. I told you here in studio, and then he I said it after the first one. Then he does the second one, which was even worse. Then he airballs the third one, and I was like, I really wish I got that tweet off. But I am good on KJ Lewis 3-pointers the rest of the season. I think I never want to see one again.
Look, man, I have been one of the biggest KJ Lewis defenders all season.
Yeah,
as you know that. Everyone in this chat knows that. Everyone that follows me on Twitter knows that. But those 4 threes today, Damon, were turnovers. They weren't even like, let's just call a spade, man. Like, those were turnovers. Because KJ Lewis, like, for all the flaws and for all the great skill that he has, he usually doesn't take those kind of shots. Whether you love the shots he does take or you don't, they're usually not like the worst shot you've ever seen in your life, right? But like, and I'm not saying that, I guess I'm being hyperbolic by saying that, but like some of the shots tonight were completely ill-advised. They were not forced, and like he wasn't forced into taking like a late shot clock 3. Even the one late shot clock 3 he did take, he chose to dribble down the shot clock like a LeBron-esque through the legs, like rhythm situation.
Another KJ Lewis LeBron comparison,
but not in a good way
for those of you watching at home.
Because I'm pretty sure that one was the air ball. So you know what I mean? Like you can do all the, oh, I saw LeBron do this on TV. You want, but it's not going to go in because you're not LeBron James. All right. So yeah, that was not a LeBron comparison, but they did get mentioned in the same breath. My point with that is though, KJ Lewis, I was disappointed in the shot selection tonight because that's not who he's been all year. And those felt out of character in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that, but specifically the threes that he missed and he took tonight felt out of character, Damon. They were turnovers. Like he had 2 turnovers tonight. He should have had 6 on the score sheet because not great from a shot selection standpoint. But I don't want to.
I'm with you. I'm with you completely. Like I think that there needs to be some nuance regarding KJ Lewis because I think that the Twitter streets in particular are starting to get a little bit nasty on our guy.
Look. I saw people on Twitter being like, "I'm ready for KJ to transfer." Okay, yeah. No, yeah, people on Twitter that want our best defensive talent and our most tenacious defensive player to transfer, and maybe one of the culture leaders on the team. No, for sure. No, you know ball, dude. You know ball because I don't know what to tell. Like that, it's the same people that in the offseason were like, "Give me Josan Sannon over Caleb Love. I'm tired of Caleb Love. Get him out of here. Give me the high schooler that's never done anything in his life at the same level that Caleb Love has." It's the same people that are making this argument, and I can't wait for either him to stay and play awesome next year and be a part of winning.
You don't want the next.
No, but you know what I'm saying. But I'm just saying if that's what these people deserve. If that's what you want, you know what I mean. Sometimes you be careful what you wish for. Is all I'm saying.
But who cares? Who cares about detractors in this fan base? If Tommy Lloyd values him, that's ultimately what matters. And if KJ Lewis is serious about his hoops, and that's something that he'll that opinion will weigh a lot more than the loud people in this fan base that maybe, are not the biggest fans of his right now. I think he's a great player. I think the injury is clearly, taking its toll in some regard, because he shot decent from three last year, albeit a much lower clip, but this year has just been really bad, man. And for me, it's less of even like I need him off the court. I just need him to stop taking those threes. I need him to just, like, the mid-range looked decent tonight. Drive to the basket, see if you can catch a guy, off platform and take, cut back and shoot that mid-range shot, or get rid of the ball. You know what I mean? Like, I think KJ Lewis can have a good Big 12 tournament, good NCAA tournament here, but I just need him to stop shooting these 3-pointers, because it's helping absolutely nobody. It's just derailing this offense at times.
And man, yeah, this is the last thing I'll say about the threes. And you talked about it derailing the offense. These you can't have in a game that you lose by 7. Sorry, my math is I was a journalism major, but in a game that you lose by less than 10, right? And I wanted to talk about this as well when we talk about the front court conversation. But you can't have plays that just aren't beneficial or even attempting to be beneficial, right? I called those shots turnovers, right? If you look at all the Arizona turnovers they had 8 turnovers tonight, Damon. 5 of those turnovers, 3 were travels. 2 were Tobe Awaka fumbling an inbound pass or something. I think it was a pass and then an inbound pass, fumbling it into Hunter Dickinson. So 5 of your 8 turnovers, Damon, were completely self-inflicted. Not even a thing that Kansas did to cause them. And I think in a game that you lose by less than 10, in the first half that you lose by 9, those are the kind of mistakes that keep you up at night. You know what I mean? Those are the kinds of ones that keep you up at night. 4 ill-advised threes from KJ Lewis, a couple ill-advised turnovers from Awaka, some travels from Del Orso early in the first half. Vasar gets into foul trouble. I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, it wasn't just KJ that was playing silly at times in this game, but the threes, we got to cut it out of the diet, man. Cut the fat out of the diet.
It's odd with this team, and we mentioned it before. It feels like they're so close to just being one of the elite teams of college basketball, because these games have just really been. I mean, against these better opponents recently, Kevin, have been very high level basketball games, very back and forth. Either team could have won, but there are so many issues. It's an interesting kind of dilemma there, where it's like they're so close to beating all these really good teams. Kansas struggled this season, but senior night, last game of the season, they need it for seeding. Like, this was a tough game, regardless of Kansas's record right now. You're so close to beating these elite teams and going into other places, other opponents' houses and taking them down, being an underdog on the money line and almost pulling it out. But there's so many issues on the other end that you mentioned: the turnovers, the ill-advised shots, the front court not really stepping up tonight. Like, all of these culmination of things, and yet they were still this close. I feel like it goes to show the talent of the team, the ceiling of this team, but it also goes to show that, this is a very, I think, high variance team. I don't think anyone would be shocked if they lost in the second round of the tournament. I don't think anyone would be shocked if, they made a little bit of a run, because I think they've proven that they can hang with all the best teams that they've played. It's just, that's almost like every Arizona basketball team that we've watched recently. It feels like it's super high variance. It could go either way. And it leaves me feeling iffy, at least, because I'm not just struck with confidence headed into this final stretch here, Kevin.
Yeah, no, and I do want to talk about the front court conversation in particular, Damon, because that I know is something you're itching to talk about. Mark Estrada in the chat has a question for us related to that as well. But I do want to hit the by the numbers first. And then we can maybe hit a break and then talk all the front court we want.
Sure.
But these are our by the numbers presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, DFCU, the #1 credit union rated by Forbes. Little company, ever heard of them? This is our by the numbers. 83-76 is your final score from Lawrence, Kansas. And honestly, the shooting numbers were pretty bang on similar in this one. Damon, 47-49 from the field goal perspective in favor of Kansas, 38-38, 3-point percent. The assists, that's a disgusting discrepancy. 22-10, gets doubled up and then some, does Arizona in the assist category, and then they lead the game in turnovers with 8. Kansas has 5. That's as many as Arizona inflicted upon themselves in this game. They also get out rebounded just slightly by 6. And then also on the offensive rebounding side, they got out rebounded 13-7. And again, we're going to talk about that with the front court conversation. But which one of these numbers or a number off the chart stood out to you, Damon Dog?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pull one off the chart here just because I think it goes to show what the bread and butter of this team is, and that's free throws. Arizona shoots 21 free throws tonight to Kansas's 14. It's obviously an increase of 50% there on Kansas. You're shooting 150% of your opponent.
Bang!
Oh, I'm a journalism major too, but no big deal. That's kind of what I do.
That's too easy.
But getting back into it, Arizona doubles up the made free throws. They 18 to Kansas's 9. That's the formula, is getting to the free throw line, shooting a bunch of attempts, because this team is so good at shooting free throws. No one on this team is really a liability from the free throw line, which is pretty remarkable in college basketball, Kevin. Like, even Tobe Awaka, Henry Vasar are decent free throw shooters.
Great touch.
Yeah, so that's I think that's the bread and butter. That's what you got to go after. But also I wanted to say that the 3-point battle there, while even, definitely didn't feel even, at least to my perspective. You have Zeke Mayo as the Kansas representative on that graphic, and we'll talk about it when we get into the front court conversation in segment 2 here. But I thought Zeke Mayo's 20 points were incredibly impactful tonight, Kevin. Felt like he hit 5 3-pointers, 5 3-pointers, 5 of 7 from 3. They came at absolutely back-breaking times for Arizona. Like, the score would get within 2, and then he'd hit one to go up 5. Arizona would be up 1, and he'd hit one to take the lead again. Like, Zeke Mayo was hitting not only 3-pointers, but like running on the move, hand in his face 3-pointers that came at insanely opportune times for the Jayhawks. So, I think that 3-point percentage stands out a little bit to me as well, because it certainly didn't feel like Arizona and Kansas shot the same from beyond the arc tonight, Kevin.
Yeah, and I'm also going to take a number from off the chart as well, Damon. I'm actually going to take 2 numbers, but I know it's a kind of a cop out, but there are multiple interesting things from this game, Damon, because Arizona in the points in the paint battle loses by 6. I feel like I'm honestly kind of surprised it was that close. Mostly because I get that
because
Arizona,
of Hunter Dickinson.
Yeah, because of Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams and what they were able to do in the paint. I mean, also a couple floaters sprinkled in there from Kansas as well. I mean, I think a huge reason why Arizona lost the first half by 9 points, Damon, is because far too many times, and let us know in the chat if you saw this too, far too many times there were easy baseline cuts from Kansas. Easy looks at the rim for Hunter Dickinson. And I think that it was, and you, I'm going to give you the floor here in a second to talk about your point with the front court, because it was in part because the front court was falling asleep at times under the rim, right? But it's also, Tommy switches everything. And sometimes if someone's not crisp on a switch, you saw it in the Auburn-Alabama game. If you're not on when you need to switch a man, one step, he can be by you, right? And it might be the bucket that wins the game, right? If in Alabama's case. But my thing with Arizona in the first half was, Hunter Dickinson is going to be the key for Kansas in this one. They're going to go to him. How is there not more attention on the baseline when he has the ball? How is there not a double that makes it harder for him to find guys?
Yeah,
I was really disappointed.
That was what was surprising to me.
In how many easy rim looks Kansas was able to get. I felt like Tobe Awaka did a really good job trying to be physical with Hunter Dickinson, but the biggest issue with Hunter Dickinson and Tobe Awaka is the height difference. Tobe was incredibly physical with Hunter Dickinson. I thought he was way more physical than Hunter Dickinson was all game. But when Hunter Dickinson would turn around for that little turnaround hook or little turnaround J,
he's got 5 inches.
He's looking
on him.
At nothing.
Yeah.
Tobe's down here. His arms are up here. He's not like, it's the Kevin Durant effect where whenever KD goes up, there's just no one that can put a hand there. And Tobe is not a guy that can get a hand in Hunter Dickinson's face. Vasar was, but he became in foul trouble near the end of the first half, picked up his third very early into the second half. And I also feel like the physicality difference between Vasar and Dickinson, the way Dickinson plays in the post specifically, not only would have lended itself to more Vasar fouls, but I think it would have been harder for Vasar to stick to him down in the post. So yeah, I don't know if it's the reason Arizona lost today, Damon, but I do think that the front court could have been a lot stronger in the paint trying to deter Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams from getting those looks. You don't get as many oops and as many free dunks as KJ Adams got unless there's a problem staying awake on the baseline. And I mean, that's what they teach in high school, Damon. You don't let guys have the baseline. They teach that in high school. And so, yeah, I was pretty disappointed in that first half from Arizona, and I feel like it didn't really set them up for success in the second half because they won the second half by 2 points, Damon. So I don't know. What do you think about the front court? What do you think about how they dealt with Hunter Dickinson as Mark Estrada wanted to know?
We're going to get more into that right after this break here on the AZ Wildcats postgame show.
I was just so excited, Damon. I just really wanted to talk front court. I was even the guy that said we should talk by the numbers and then go to the break.
And then you were
then break, it just went out the window.
First, I got to talk about my guy Henry Vesar and Tobe Awaka here.
But now I do get to talk about our friends over at Carol Royce Team. Our friends at Carol Royce Team are honestly some of the nicest people that I have ever interacted with, Damon. They have sponsored our buy or sell segment, and they will also help you buy or sell your first home. If you are looking to get into the buy-in market, now is the best time to do it. Whether you're a first home buyer or a seasoned pro, buying a home can be tricky, and that's why our friends over at Carol Royce are just trying to help you out in the best ways that they can, whether it be working with the best lenders so you don't got to worry about all the financial stuff that goes behind the scenes that might go over your head and cause you to lose money on a deal, which you never want to do. You want to make sure you're getting the best deal possible, and that's why Carol Royce Team is there to help you out. So if you're looking to buy your first home, if you're worried about financing, Carol works with all the best lenders, so they're so confident you'll love your home that within 18 months, if you don't like it, they'll just buy it right back off your hands. So you can buy one of Carol Royce's homes, and she'll buy your current home for cash. If you're ready to find your dream home, take the next step, call Carol Royce Team, or visit Carol Royce online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com.
Guys, race day is tomorrow at Phoenix Raceway. It's time to buy your tickets now because it is last minute, but guess what? I am certain that they still have some available that you could find. Head on over to phoenixraceway.com, get those tickets. We were out there last year at the race. It was such a blast. I'm going to be getting out of town tonight. If I wasn't, I would be out in the Estrella foothills, the beautiful scenic backdrop there out in, I believe, Southwest Valley here in Phoenix. And yeah, it's just going to be an incredible time, incredible vibes out there at Phoenix Raceway. Head on out. Weather's been great recently, so there's almost not a better time than early March here to get outside and just kind of take in that sun. Phoenix Raceway, we love our friends over there. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast tomorrow. Get your tickets now at phoenixraceway.com. It's phoenixraceway.com.
Yeah, no, Damon, I was just so hyped to continue this front court conversation that I almost blew right through those ads, man. That was crazy, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I was queuing you up to talk about Hunter Dickinson, and because you were asking me if I thought that the front court was the reason we lost this game off air, and I was kind of saying, I don't know if it's the reason, but you kind of felt maybe a little bit differently. So can explain yourself here, Damon Doc.
Yeah, I think it was really just the first time all season that I felt like the front court was overmatched. And when we went into and not to, I'm going to pat myself on the back here for a little bit, Kevin. When we did our preview of Big 12 play, I said Hunter Dickinson was the toughest opponent that Arizona was going to face all season. I felt horrible about that for majority of this season, Kevin. You'll notice I'd never brought it up because I was like, hey, maybe if I don't bring it up, people will forget that I said that. Because I actually am not a big Hunter Dickinson believer in general. But tonight, man, there was just no stopping him. It felt like to your point, Kevin, it felt like there really wasn't a plan other than leaving Awaka and Vesar out on an island against him, which I find a little bit odd considering that watching the last Houston-Kansas game, it felt like Houston had like a very designated plan of every time that like he caught the ball with his back to the basket in like the mid post or low post, they were doubling him. And it seemed effective from my perspective, at least. I'd need to go back and, rewatch that game a little bit more closely. But I thought that was kind of the formula. I believe Hunter Dickinson had 7 turnovers in that game. And it felt like Arizona just was like, hey, if Hunter Dickinson, we're going to let him get his tonight. We don't want to let the other players on the team get theirs. And that's kind of where my opinion on the Zeke Mayo shots, those 3-pointers being so massive, because I felt like they left Hunter Dickinson on an island, Kevin. So it's like, of course, he's going to score some points here. You can't let shooters score points as well. And you got burned there. But mostly I just felt like I thought Tobe Awaka, I thought he had good effort tonight. I thought his offensive game from a shooting standpoint was solid, and he gave you 9 rebounds. So it's not like that he wasn't working on the boards at all. But I didn't think Toby Awaka was really that effective when defending Hunter Dickinson, in large part because that height differential that you brought up and that size differential, Kevin. And that's where I thought, in this preview, and we talked about this yesterday, right? Henry Vasar was going to be huge for this matchup because verticality-wise, he can match Hunter Dickinson. He can rise up. He can block shots. He can block hook shots. We've seen it all season long. But I thought this was Henry Vasar's worst game maybe of the entire season because I know he battled foul trouble, but when he was in there, he wasn't ready for passes. I didn't think he looked active. I didn't think he was really affecting the game defensively. And, he's been my favorite player to watch all season. I think he's been a revelation. But tonight raised some real concerns for me. Can he defend those big guys effectively when need be and if need be? I know there's not a lot of them in college basketball, but definitely raised some concerns for me, Kevin.
Well, to be honest with you, Damon, I kind of have to disagree with you on specifically the Vasar take. I agree with you about Awaka. I think it felt like as a fan watching the game that Tommy Lloyd's plan was almost kind of let's have Awaka go out there, make it really physical, muck it up a little bit, make it hard for Dickinson to get a rhythm, make him frustrated, and that will carry on throughout the game. But it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And I think Vasar was pretty good defensively, honestly, for long stretches of the first part of this game. To be honest, because those blocks that he had early in the game were nasty, vicious, and I think the foul trouble really, really hamstrung his game today, Damon.
But that's part of it, no? If you're committing a ton of fouls, you're not defending properly.
No, I get you, but I think part of the reason why I'm more lenient on him with that is because I think the player Henry Vasar he can contend with some of the best bigs in the conference. But I don't think that he can maybe beat some of the best bigs and be better than some of the best bigs in the conference, right? I don't have questions as to whether he'll get there or as to whether he, should have been thrown on Dickinson early. I think you should have put him on Dickinson earlier before he had the foul trouble because you can't put him on Dickinson after that, Damon. You know what I mean? And I get that the foul trouble is partially on him, but I mean, how many times have we sat here and been like, oh, he has two, but really that first one was a softie, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm not as worried about Vasar, and I'm not really worried about Awaka either. But in terms of just this game, I think Vasar played fine, but the fouls were what held him back from playing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's entirely part of what I'm factoring into my explanation because I felt that he was just. I mean, listen, I'm not really remembering the fouls. I would have to look at them more closely and be truly and dissect them. Well, this probably wasn't a foul. Or this is a little bit of a soft call. I don't remember necessarily, but I did think that I'd love to see the plus minus on this and back this up a little bit more, but I didn't feel that he was impacting the game in terms of, kind of contributing to the win aspect of things, Kevin. And I feel like Henry Vasar has been largely one of the main positive plus minus guys all season long. I feel
he leads the team.
When Henry Vasar gets out on the floor, Arizona goes on runs. And yet I felt the opposite of that tonight, at least from an eye test perspective. It felt like negative things were happening when Henry Vasar was out on the court versus positive things. And that was surprising for me because I genuinely think he's been so great this season from an impact standpoint. And yeah, it was tough, but you live and you learn, Kevin. You got some other things you gotta people to give plaudits to. We talked about it a little bit, but Mr. March, Trey Townsend,
man,
the coming out party.
Yes.
Trey Townsend. Let me read you a stat line tonight. Coming off the bench gives you 13 and 7 boards, Kevin. 7 boards, Kevin. 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3. He got stuffed a little bit, on a post up that. You were very you wanted a foul for sure.
I did. I was screaming for it.
I either wanted a foul or for it to be off of. I believe it was KJ Adams in that moment, but it definitely looked like it should have been Arizona basketball. But Trey Townsend played probably his best game of the season when you factor in the competition level, Kevin. And it was nice to see. Do you think that this is something that Arizona can hang their hat on? Maybe in as we get into postseason play here, or are you still? Kind of step back. If he gives you something, it's a cherry on top, but, zero expectations.
Realistically, if he gives us something, it is a cherry on top, Damon. But can I be honest for a moment? Trey Townsend deserved this game. The season he's had, the fan experience that has been given to him, and I'm not saying it's been necessarily nasty, but it hasn't been positive, right? And I think for him to come out here and have this game in the end of the year against Kansas, as soon as the clock struck March, Trey Townsend is starting to ball out, and you tweeted about it, how once March Madness comes around, he starts to look a lot like the king. You know what I mean?
My boy ripped the February calendar away and was like, it's time to lock in.
Yeah, man. And I was happy for Trey Townsend, like as a player first and foremost, but I also it was just they needed Trey Townsend today, Damon. Which I mean, I don't know how we feel about that, but this team today needed Trey Townsend. It was a great performance from him. I wanted to ask you, and we'll talk about maybe a little bit about this with Saul in a little bit, but I wanted to ask you, do you think that the way that Trey Townsend was used today is replicable going forward? And do you think that we'll start to see him used more as kind of like a tweener wing as opposed to primarily a post guy?
Well, I certainly think that you got to try it, right? Because his team hasn't been good at shooting all season long. And what we saw today, I mean, it looked good. Like, it wasn't just like it was like they were swirling around the rim and found their way in. Like these were good, high quality shots that he was taking. And he was nailing the shots there, like swishes and whatnot. I felt, I don't know. I felt like maybe I have a little bit more confidence in Trey Townsend's 3-point ability. There's not much else that I really am seeing there that is that I'm gonna hang my hat on or project moving forward. But I'd like to maybe see him take about 2 or 3-point attempts a game and see what those look like. Right, he had that one brick 3-point attempt on his one miss. I will say that one that clanked off the backboard and didn't hit any rim. But in general, I thought Trey Townsend's shot looked good tonight. And yeah, we talked about it off air, Kevin. Like, he's built like a small forward, right? Like, he's 6'6". It would make sense from a positional standpoint, I guess, just height wise, frame wise, for him to maybe get a little bit more wing minutes. And can Carter and him play together? I don't know. I think that's a conversation that you would need to have in that scenario. But it certainly was nice to see Trey Townsend have a little bit of a coming out party tonight, and hopefully he can continue a little bit of a hot streak here as we get into March, because that'd be just like a fun story more than anything. Like, the guy who transferred, who struggled all year after a big tournament last year, has a big tournament off the bench for the big school that he went to. Like, that's like a storybook ending. So I'd love for Trey Townsend to find something here and find a new role that maybe suits him a little bit better. But Kevin, you mentioned we're going to talk to Saul Bookman. He is boots on the ground in beautiful Lawrence, Kansas. We're going to talk to him right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats postgame show.
Damon Dog. Well, it was recently my birthday. I really didn't, mention it at all heading up to it. But I'm an older man now. I'm a little wiser.
You are.
But
time to get those
age,
financials right, brother.
True, but also with age, Damon, you start to feel some aches and pains, and you start to feel your age. But with our friends over at Timeline, the cells in our bodies, they're the building blocks of our life, and Timeline wants to help us with that. It's a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. The patented ingredient is Mitopure. Mitopure. I'm not a scientist. Like I said, I was a journalism major. A postbiotic nutrient that clears our dysfunctional mitochondria, aka your cells' battery packs. And that's a lot of science. I'm not gonna really try to get too deep into the weeds on it, but the point here is that it recharges your cells, and it's the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at a cellular level, and is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. Damon, you're going to the gym 7 days a week. You need some of this stuff. Boost your performance, boost your recovery with our friends over at Timeline. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off of your order of Mitopure. Go to timeline.com/PHNX. Get started today. That's timeline.com/PHNX. Code is PHNX.
Kevin, you mentioned that I'm going to need it because I'm working out every day. I'm going to need it because I'm going to Vegas this weekend. I might have to pop me some Timeline and take it on out there because that sounds like a necessity.
You're going to need to be rejuvenated after a Vegas trip, and Timeline might help you with that.
Yep. Another necessity when it comes to any headwear that you're going to buy out there is with our friends at Brandon Bills, because Brandon Bills has the most comfortable hats in the business, Kevin. We went and toured their facility. Actually, you were sick. You did not tour their facility.
I did not. I was very sick.
I went and toured their facility because they didn't let Kevin in through the front door. And damn, was it nice. Really cool spot. Great people. Felt a lot like the vibes around here at PHNX, where it was just like a bunch of, creative individuals getting together and doing something they love. And you can feel it in Branded Bills when you wear their apparel and when you wear their hats, because damn, are they comfy, Kevin. And they have all sorts of options in terms of the campus collection. They have a specialized group of those down in Tucson that Kevin has sent me a picture of before. It is real, guys. Head on over to the U of A bookstore and go look at that Branded Bills section. It is remarkable over there. And all the U of A hats are so sick. And you can customize your own. So if if you're looking to customize some apparel for your business or anything of the sort, Branded Bills can help you out with that. We're going to help you out with our promo code of PHNX for 20% off your first order. That's head on over to Branded Bills and use that promo code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Well, we made him wait long enough. Our guy Saul is on the court here at Frog Allen Fieldhouse. And how we doing, Saul?
Pretty good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, because I couldn't hear you at all. It was an incredible day. Kind of incredibly bad in some aspects, but it is what it is. We're here. That's all I got to say.
We are here. I wanted to start out here because you said we're here, and one thing I wanted to mention to Damon was just the overall environment of Allen Fieldhouse looked incredible, and it's a nice bookend for the season, first season in the Big 12, right? So you're there, boots on the ground. How does this stack up to some of the other Big 12 environments? What was the environment in there like?
No, it's the best one. It's the best one. And Tommy even said so. Tommy in the postgame said that this is not a knock on McHale whatsoever. He's like, but this is an elite college basketball environment. From the noise, the chants, it feels like these people are constantly going, right? And much like the McHale crowd, they have a good feel for the pace of the game. And when Kansas starts to struggle, you see them stand up just like we do at McHale and try to spur their team on. And so there's a lot of similarities. It's just this is one of the relics of college basketball, and it echoes off of the roof, so it makes it even louder, because there's no way at the end of the game I should be able to hear the Rock Chalk Jayhawk chant normally, but I feel like it just echoes all the way across, even though everybody's just kind of at a lower tone when they say it. So it was pretty incredible. Again, I think Iowa State, McHale, and the Fog are three of the best environments in college basketball, but definitely in the Big 12.
Do you think that Fog Allen Fieldhouse played its role in today's game? Did you being live at the game, watching it in person, did you think that it took its toll on the Arizona players?
I think in the first half it just kind of discombobulated them a little bit. It was intense, and then on top of that, it was senior day, so KU came out, guns blazing, and I think it affected the team at first. And I think Tommy even said that much in the post game. Said that it was a little rough, but once they kind of managed to get through it, even despite the run that KU went on towards the end of the first half, they got back. And I think that 5-point swing towards the end of that half was so valuable. We can't overlook that, because I don't know if Arizona doesn't cut that to 9 points before the half, I don't know if they come out, feeling so great and perform the way they do to get back in this game and ultimately take the lead, even though they fell short at the end.
Let's stick there with Jaden Bradley for a second, because he got that, that late layup to cut it to 9. I said it earlier, Saul, that I feel like Jaden Bradley, more so than anybody, I have full trust in that, when the games get tight and things get a little discombobulated, that he's going to lock in and step up for this team. Is it enough? Does Arizona need more than Jaden Bradley, in these really difficult games and difficult environments? Because, obviously tonight it wasn't enough, but, we saw it last year against Clemson as well. Who is going to be the next guy to step up for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw a nice blend of Jaden and Caleb in that second half. And so I think that's kind of the move moving forward is you hope somebody – it's got to be two guys. I don't care what two guys. The two guys got to carry the weight, and then everybody else just kind of adds to it. But far too many times it's been one guy, or it's kind of sprinkled around, but it hasn't been effective enough in terms of the distribution. So that's kind of what you want to see. And I would agree. Listen, we talked about on McHale Madness. There's one guy that I feel like is about to turn it on, and that would be Jaden Bradley, because this season he's been kind of, especially the last couple months, he's been kind of quiet.
You mean not Trey Townsend, Mr. March?
Why are you stealing my thunder? I haven't even gotten to Trey Townsend yet. Okay.
Oh, no, I was just
Let me talk about Jaden Bradley.
Let me talk about Jaden Bradley. Calendar flips. I thought you were going Trey Townsend. I'm not trying to step on your thunder. I was just making sure you were of clear sound mind.
I'm getting there, Kevin. So Jaden Bradley, proven March Madness perfecter. For the Arizona Wildcats. I feel like his time is coming, because he's been kind of relatively quiet the last couple months. And I would expect for him to kind of find it. And to go back to your point, Kevin, Trey Townsend, one thing that I found very interesting was, talking to Corey kind of off camera too, is he is very adamant that, he got broke down the whole second best scorer comment, right? And he's very adamant that, like, the guy didn't forget how to play. It's just his role is completely different than it ever was before. And I hope that he in this game, he found something to kind of gravitate towards, so that way when we get into these tough games in March, he's going to be able to come through a little bit, because he played a good game today. I thought he was solid. He had too many defensive breakdowns. The rotations continue to haunt this man like no other. I don't understand it, but offensively he was good.
Yeah, I mean, we might see a little bit of a better Trey Townsend from the outside in particular, because his last 2 years at Oakland, he shot 38.5% and 37.5% from beyond the arc. And this season, he's shooting sub 30%. We saw good three-point shooting today. Like, maybe he has a little bit more to give there in terms of just the perimeter scoring. But, yeah, Kevin, I'll toss it over to you.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about Jaden Bradley. I want to stick with Jaden Bradley here, because we actually saw you're going to be a part of an inaugural segment right now. We have our new player of the game. And I'm not talking just any player of the game. When you're doing the best performance on the court each night, you're not just the player of the game. You are the king of the court. And tonight's king of the court is Jaden Bradley, who put up 21 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. It's Jaden Bradley time, like Saul alluded to, and he is our first ever inaugural king of the court. This is going to be our new player of the game segment going forward. And we're excited to debut it with Jaden Bradley, who else but Jaden Bradley?
Tough that we couldn't debut it in a win here.
Yeah, or with Trey Townsend.
Yeah, we wanted Trey Townsend bad, not going to lie.
But yeah, so I do understand that you spoke with Jaden Bradley, and what was that conversation like? And we also have a couple clips.
Yeah, he was pretty low-key about it. He said it was a phenomenal environment. A lot of the guys talked about, growing up watching ESPN and watching these games and wondering what it would feel like to actually be in this environment himself. And he said it was amazing. It was great. Like, he loved it. He thought it was fantastic, and it met the expectation. It's just, they would have liked to have the win. And my question to him first was, he turned it on in the second half. And I don't know if we have the clip ready. If we do, just let me know. But he talked about how he turned it on in the second half, but really it was just a team effort in terms of, like, kind of refocusing, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, just the adjustments we made as a team, trying to move the ball side to side, getting in the paint, and, trying to get their bigs and stuff in foul trouble. And, our bigs did a great job of that, and just running in transition.
Simple. I mean, most of his answers are pretty cut and dry. And pretty succinct. He didn't really elaborate too much. I think the big thing with Jaden Bradley is he strikes me as the type of person that's very much on to the next thing. Like, I did my job, I did my role, I tried to lead by example, I tried to lead these guys. It just didn't go for us tonight. We're going to recalibrate, and then we're going to get back to it. And, like, that dude loves ball. And so I was excited to hear that. And he's not the most exciting guy in the world, but that's Jaden Bradley. He's just subdued, and he's focused all the time. I feel like as he was talking to us, I feel like he was thinking of things in the game that he could have done better, or he could have changed, or he could have reacted to a little bit better. And That's what you love about him. That's why he's one of the quiet leaders of this team. And then he elaborated more. I asked him like point blank, like, what's your message to the team this week? And this is what he also had to say.
We're going to get together as a team, talk about our goals and what we want to do in this Big 12 tournament, and sit down and figure out, what we have to do as a team. And, all our goals is to win it, so we got to figure out what we got to do for sure.
We're going to talk about our hopes and dreams, fellas. What do we want out of this next couple weeks?
Kevin,
I can't wait for Tommy Lloyd to carry around a box with a slit in it, and they just all write their hopes and dreams anonymously and put it in the box, and they crumple up all the papers and throw it at each other, and then I pick up Damon's dream, and he picks up mine, and we read it out loud. And how are we going to accomplish this dream, Damon?
I was going to say, Kevin and I have a feelings circle after every post-game show where we just kind of link up and talk about, what our hopes and dreams really of as we go forward. But Jaden Bradley, king of the court, but not necessarily king of the quote there. He's definitely more of a reserve guy, but I think it plays out on the court. Like he stays very level. I think that's just who he is as a dude. And I love me some JB.
What's so great, and you're gonna love to hear this. JB's dad and I had a conversation, and noted PHNX Wildcats listener. And a noted McHale Madness listener, loves the insight. And, one of the things he said about his son was he's just always so focused. Like he never gets lost in the moment. He knows what he wants to do out there. And you see that at every point on the court. It never feels like he's completely out of control at any point in any game. And that's just a remarkable trait for somebody so young. You see that with like the Chris Pauls of the world. To have that kind of stability in their game and not really panic when somebody else is trying to throw crazy things at you. And I'm not saying Jaden Bradley is Chris Paul. Don't get me wrong, folks. Don't quote me.
It's all right. I've been comparing KJ Lewis to Jaylen Brown all season, and so LeBron. I get it. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I can explain later. I'll text you later about that one.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I didn't know what to say about KJ tonight. He had a rough one.
He did. We did talk about that earlier, and just trying to quell some of the outrage about KJ right now. But it was definitely not his best performance on either side of the ball. I saw you tweet about it. KJ entered and Kansas goes on a run. But I guess we'll ask Saul here.
I didn't tweet that, Kevin. I texted you that, you jerk.
Well, my bad. Hey, things.
Now you just put me on blast, man.
Hey, look. The stats can put him on blast, too, because if we go back and see the exact time, I'm sure Saul was correct. You know what I mean?
So that reminds me, there's another text of yours I wanted to bring up.
No. Hold on. But now that I'm done putting Saul
I got to go, guys. Bye.
I do want to ask you, though, Saul, can you try to explain those threes that he took to us? Because I was kind of talking to Damon about it earlier on the show. They felt like uncharacteristic shots from KJ Lewis. Like, I feel like usually he's not the – I'm going to force a three-pointer here kind of a player, even though he's not the best shooter anyway.
I didn't feel like he was forcing them. I felt like Kansas was like, yeah, shoot it. Like they literally switched on those P&Rs or on the rotations, the dribble handoff series or whatever, and KJ found himself wide open. And KU wasn't exactly like, oh no, wait, like they weren't doing that. They just were like, all right. And he didn't make any of them. And if you don't make any of them, they're gonna keep doing it. I just
thought that there was one specifically that was egregious, and it was on the opposite wing from the bench where he was kind of 6 seconds-ish left, totally enough time to either make a pass or make a dribble move.
Yeah.
And he decided to go through the legs a couple times and shoot a three.
Size up.
Like that was one where I was like, that's not even KJ Lewis. That doesn't even look like him right there making that move.
I want to say this, and I think sometimes we forget. I know he's been playing for the last 8 to 10 games, and he's played well in a lot of games, but he still does have that wrist injury.
Yes.
Whatever the case is, he still has that wrist injury, and I don't think I really calculated in my mind until he airballed that wide open three. When he airballed that wide open three, I sat there and I was like, that's just not normal. That's just not normal.
I said the same thing to Damon. I was like, that wrist, like, it's still there, and that's that wrist. The air ball is that wrist. But the wrist doesn't make you take that shot. Like, he's been practicing with the wrist. He knows his limitations with the wrist. I just feel like I don't want to use this word, but you got to be smarter there. You have to be more aware. That's the word I'm looking for. You got to be more aware of your limitations with the injury, right?
In coach speak, it's a good shot because he's wide open. Like, and that was the widest open he was of all of them.
Yeah.
And he could have just took another dribble and just.
Well, that's why I think that it's not all
You know
physical,
what I mean?
because I felt that like he thought about that one way too much, because he was so open.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was on the struggle bus today for sure, and hopefully these next 4 or 5 days, him and Tommy shared a moment when we were about to go talk to Jaden Bradley, and I don't know what was being said, but from body language, it was definitely Tommy like pumping him up, like shake that shit off, move on to the next thing. We need you here in these next couple weeks more than ever before. Like, forget about this game. Forget about this. Let's just move on. Let's get right. And on Thursday, let's get back to it. And, and to KJ's credit, he was, he kind of gave the head nod, like, yeah, I got you kind of thing. And then he was off to the bus. So, again, like that's the things behind the scenes that, we don't necessarily get to see. And sometimes players go through it, man. Like, I don't want to say too much, but I just know that this game meant a little bit more to KJ than normal. And the reason why I don't want to talk about it is because it wasn't really a conversation that I felt like was open for discussion. It was more of just kind of like, between you and I kind of thing. But I do know that. I do know that this was an important game for a variety of different reasons. And so KJ, he didn't show up. He had a bad game, and hopefully he'll learn and move on, and everything will be all good.
I have one more topic I want to throw at you, Saul. But real quick, if you are watching on our streaming services, please go over to gophnx.com. The party continues over there. We're going to wrap up our post-game coverage on gophnx.com. Swing over there. But Saul, Damon and I had a little bit of a conversation earlier about the front court play today. Neither of us were too excited about the results of the production that Kansas was able to get.
Before you ask this, Kevin, I would want to ask Saul, what did he see out of Hunter Dickinson that made him so unstoppable tonight? And then we can go into Arizona's perspective on it.
I like that.
Hunter Dickinson is as strong as Toby Awaka. And because of that, he was able to kind of back him down more than most people can. And Hunter Dickinson from 10 feet in is damn near automatic.
Yeah.
And Toby is not seeing a lefty like that. Maybe you go over to my guy over at Houston. He's also a lefty.
Roberts?
Roberts. But he's not nearly the efficient offensive scorer that Hunter Dickinson is.
Or as sizable as Hunter Dickinson.
Or as tall. Yeah, exactly. And so Hunter Dickinson knows his game. He knows what he's really good at. And Toby Awaka, for as good as he's been this season, this was kind of a bad matchup for him. I was a little surprised that they didn't match up Baystar a little bit more just because of the length and the height. But I'm going to say that I think Toby will adjust and perform a little bit better next time they face each other, which will probably be Thursday, most likely, unless Baylor somehow upsets Houston today, which I doubt is going to happen. But I also want to say this. Because of that, I know as fans, a lot of people they want to just eject and go into the ocean after every single loss, right?
Yep.
Like, I know that, right? And everything is doomsday, every single loss, all right? And when you factor in senior day, home, Kansas, Fog Allen, like the whole 9 yards, they had so many celebrities here today, it was kind of crazy. And I know they were the preseason number one, and I know they have not played well this season, especially in the last stretch. But you just never know with a team like that when they will figure it out and turn it back on or find their groove again, right? And I think tonight was kind of an example of that. They had guys that were shooting lights out from three. And Hunter Dickinson's rolling. Like, when listen, most teams in college basketball will have a tough time if KU plays like this. They just will. And so I think we're overlooking that point. But my last message is bring that same energy when Arizona beats them on Thursday.
Love it.
Bring the same
I do love
energy,
this.
okay? Because I don't want to see both sides of your mouth. Like, if you're going to hate on them, hate on them. If you're going to love them. But you're not going to hate on them and then love them when they beat and lose to the same team. Come on. We got to be better than this.
I'm with you on this, Saul. I'm with you on that.
Listen, I'm kind of like, I get it. Like, but it's not life and death. And if you read Bruce Pascoe's story this week about KU fans and how they were like, you know, people are tweeting at players, telling them to kill themselves and all this other stuff. Like, I just don't want to hear it. And then the constant bashing of Tommy. It's like, guys, what are we doing right now? Like, if this team goes to the Final Four, the fuck are you gonna say? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they are.
Tommy, as you said that.
As the bashing of Tommy exited your mouth, we did get a comment that says this was always a loss, especially with Tommy.
Shout out KW. But yeah, so I agree with you, Saul, and I definitely align with your side of things. Let me play devil's advocate here for a second. And the doomsday people, totally, like they're all the way over here. There's no trying to, you know, reason with them. But I think that the people that are maybe a little bit more pessimistic.
Somebody literally said it was the worst season of Arizona basketball in history.
Insane take. The Justin Coleman Chase Jeter season exists. That was bad. But for the people that are maybe a little bit more pessimistic about Arizona basketball, especially this season, I would say that, you know, it's been a lot of recently, you know, felt like you lost on the margins to some of the better teams you've played down this stretch in particular in this final 8 games. So it's somewhat feeling like this team is not understanding how to win when it comes down to it. And I think that is like a thing that you can't really measure. It's intangible in a team, right? Where it's like, these guys just know how to win. Like, I think that this team has shown that, you know, they struggle when, you know, pulling out these late games. Like one of the success stories this season was required a half-court buzzer beater.
Yeah.
In order and then a W in OT, which they deserve credit for, but it took a miracle to do that. So, I think that it's this aspect of like the close games against these top level teams, they can't close them out, and it's becoming a little bit concerning.
I think this team is exactly what they are, and they've proven that. Now, their preseason rankings said that they were a top 10 team, which sets this expectation that they are a top 10 team. And when they don't hit that expectation, then everybody else is going to panic. But if you've watched this, to your point, Damon, if you watch this season, they're about a 2 out of every 3 game win team. And that's what their record says they are. They'll win 2 out of every 3 games. And they have not beat the elites of this conference. They beat Iowa State, cool, but then they got drubbed by them later on. And it, like to your point, it did take a full court shot basically to get them to even that point, right? I don't think that Arizona is going to the Final Four. Like, I straight up don't think that. Like, but that doesn't mean that I hate them for it. Like, I think that there's a little bit of a balance there, and you don't have to, you know, like, if my reality is like, hey, my son is not good enough to play in Major League Baseball, but I don't hate the kid for not making it to Major League Baseball.
That's why he ain't make the MLB. I'm telling you right now. Hot take. I'm telling you right now. So you gotta care.
If I would,
you gotta want it.
if I had just ghosted him, maybe he would have achieved greatness.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Just show back up in 18 years with a bucket of milk and be like, son, I told you. Adversity
I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. No, hey, listen, I'm telling you, man. I just think that this team, I think their ceiling is probably the Elite Eight, and that's if they really ball out. And I think their floor is first round exit.
Yep.
I think most likely it's going to be in between. That's just what it is, man. And I don't like to say that.
I think it's like, a very high variance team.
Yeah, very high variance. Like we're literally sitting here thinking, how can Arizona make it to the Final Four? I'll tell you how. Like, 1 or 2 dudes have just got to be on a heater in order to make it to the Final Four.
Caleb Love,
and that
Caleb Love,
one of those dudes would be Caleb
Bradley. KJ Lewis has to do it on both ends. You need Trey Townsend to be a plus all the way. Henry Vasar, everyone's got to pull their weight. And
there's a world, but it's not a really the most realistic scenario. I don't think anyone would say that. But this team it feels like they have all the talent in the world. but it necessarily hasn't come to fruition against some of these more elite opponents here. But Saul, I got here that Tommy said that the team has to get back to Tucson before flying back out to Kansas City because they got to get their gritty back. You, sir, will be staying in the great state of Kansas. I don't know, are you heading over to Missouri right away? But in that neck of the woods,
Missouri,
and you're gonna keep your gritty going, just chilling in the Midwest here.
Yeah, just in the words of Adia Barnes, I'm built for this. So, hey, here I am. Listen, guys, I wish I could drive. I wish I could fly back home. It was cheaper to stay, and sacrifices are made, and here I am. So I got a couple days before the tournament starts, and listen, I'm just going to pump out a lot of content, as much content as I can, to help you guys out, and we'll see what we get out of this. Unfortunately,
Respect,
the worst part about, honestly, the worst part about this is like, I'm an all-city guy. I'll do whatever I need to do for the team, right? And I offered my services to the Buffs squad since they were not going to the Big 12 tournament, and the ASU squad since they also were not going to the Big 12 tournament. And listen, it would have been light work. It would have been a short day's work. Like, I would have been there briefly for like a hot second to help them out. Yeah, that's it. Just one day. And then I get my Wednesday to just kick back, relax, watch all the games. And then Thursday, the real games start. You know what I mean? But, they did not want my services. Actually, ASU did. And so I'll grab some footage for them. I don't think I'll show up on their show, but I will help them out with their content. So we'll see how it goes. I just want to see Bobby Hurley have an epic meltdown.
Oh, he will. Oh, he will.
Sure.
If he coaches, he's gonna melt down. It's just how it happens. The guy's a
Dude, do you guys think, like, and listen, I'm not trying to get anybody fired, but based off of what happened with their women's basketball coach, what do you think the odds are that they let go of Bobby Hurley? Out of 10, 1 to 10.
Ooh, I think 9. Almost set in stone.
I hope 0, but I think 9.
Yeah, Bobby forever. Let me preface it by saying that.
I want to keep ranting and raving against Bobby Hurley forever. Like, I just want to keep hating him forever.
But the thing that kills me is that ASU fans will want him to be gone, which is fair. But they don't have anything to attract elite level coaches. They just don't. Like, you walk into that facility, you talk to ASU people, and they're like, man, this place is a dump, right?
Yeah.
I don't mean to go on an ASU tangent, but so that's what I'll be doing to answer your question there, Damon, is helping out the squad and doing my day job during the day, helping All-City rise to another level, and then helping you guys out. So here I am.
I find it absolutely shocking that the Buffs guys didn't want your help because they're so locked in on basketball over there.
They literally said that they don't even touch basketball because if they touch basketball, they lose subscribers.
That's insane. That's such a crazy place to be in. But yeah, hey man, when you got the cash cow of Deion Sanders, you just keep milking that bad boy all day long. But yeah, thank you, Saul, for your coverage out here.
They're just priming the pump. That's all they're doing. They're just priming the pump. That's it. Guys, have a great week.
Damon's got to get to partying and seeing Poetan fight.
I do.
Have a great weekend, guys. And also next week, stay tuned for McHale Madness, because we will have some kind of snippets throughout the week to kind of get you satisfied until we get to that Thursday game. So
electric. Follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. He's going to be pumping out content out here in Lawrence today, but going to the Big 12 tournament, going to be in Kansas City all week. So follow Saul and follow PHNX_Wildcats as well.
I got some barbecue to go eat, fellas.
Yep. Get out of here, Saul. Get that gritty on. And Kevin, that was a solid addition here of the AZ Wildcats postgame show. Didn't come with a W, unfortunately.
Real quick, Damon. We have to touch on it. You're going to Vegas. My guy is going to Vegas. And what are you doing tonight, Damon Dog? It's time for the main event of the evening. Alex Poetan Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Damon Dog is going to be in the building. Just Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev.
They're gonna put me on the screen. I'm gonna give it one of these. They're gonna be like, and Damon Dog.
Damon Dog from the AZ Wildcats podcast and of PHNX Cardinals acclaim.
Biggest pop of the night when
He's
they
gonna
put
be
me
watching
on
Alex
screen.
Fairall do the,
I'm actually walking out with Pereira.
Dude, can't wait.
I'm belt guy walking out with
can't
Pereira
wait.
tonight. But yes,
It's gonna be you, Polino Cruz, and Alex.
I do indeed have a flight to catch, Kevin, but I will be at UFC there in the in T-Mobile Center. Just getting crazy, maybe getting nasty on some bets with our friends at Bet365. Might have put down a decent chunk of change here trying to get back my ticket price. But let's go. Pumped up for that, but saddened by today's result of Kansas versus Arizona as the Cats lose 83-76 to Kansas. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like this video if you haven't done so already. Helps us out a lot. Carl put in here earlier, we want 76 likes for the amount of points we scored tonight. I think that's a good barometer for my guy Kevin to get a good 8 hours of sleep tonight. Kevin, thank you so much. We appreciate you as always. You can give my boy a follow at KevoPost. That's KEVOPOSTS. Kevin, always with the hard-hitting analysis and the and just good back and forth for me and Kevin, screaming at each other earlier in the game because I'm freaking out about James Harden statues and whatnot. But you can follow me at Damon Dog if you want some of that talk on my Twitter. Find some wars that I'm fighting. That is DAWG. Again, follow our account at PHNX_Wildcats. I got a flight to catch. We're going to get out of here. Peace. Bear down.
And go Cats. Never question my guy Damon Dog's commitment to this university. He's here when he could be in Vegas.
We all silly like the mayor.